What up, Freediver fans? Jonathan and Erik here with you today, and we want to talk about a very commonly asked question: how much weight do I need?
Probably the most frequently asked question in the shop by customers.
Absolutely. So talking about weights in general and weight belts and all kinds of different things and topics, first and foremost I want to go through the idea of what kind of belt you need, right? Because a lot of people have the old school style like pouch weights that you like have a zipper on or a Velcro to. Guys have it. It definitely is something maybe you inherited from your dad or your grandpa. But
or your great grandpa.
Or your great grandpa, it's possible. But some people still have that out there, and obviously that does accomplish the idea, right? So does holding a giant rock. But it does get you down to depth. But the idea of trying to actually get down to depth with some kind of level of comfort makes a big difference in choosing the belt. So the reason why we choose these kind of rubber belts, and they don't have to be these fancy colors like we have displayed. We do have...
But they should be.
But they should be. But we do have the straight black one as well. But basically, the rubber belts have a stretch to them. And so when you go to put this belt on, you want to actually put this thing not around your belly, right? Because this is hopefully where you're going to be breathing from, and you'd learn about that in your level 1 class. But you actually put it down around your hip area, like where your hip bone is, and essentially bone doesn't compress when you dive, right? Whereas your wetsuit and other parts of your body do. So when you dive to deep depths, that compression of the wetsuit ends up making your belt have the ability to move up and down.
I have a trick.
Okay.
Quick tip.
Quick tip.
I actually do put the weight belt on around my stomach.
Okay.
And not tight, just kind of snug. And that gives me like the right size to be tight around my hips. So I put it on up first, and then I slide the whole thing down. And see how it's squeezing the butt cheeks out the top? That's where you want that thing to be, right on the cheeks.
Sure. Many years ago when I started kind of doing this, and a lot of people like knew where the belt was supposed to be, everyone would always tell me like, hey man, your belt's gonna fall off, because it was like around my butt. But now people have kind of understood and realized that that's just kind of the best place for it to be.
It looks a little weird.
It does look a little silly, but it definitely is functional. So customers always ask the question, Erik, how much weight do I need?
And my first question back, I never have an answer for them straight off the bat.
That's good.
I return with a question. 2 questions actually is, are you wearing a wetsuit, and how thick is it, and how deep are you diving?
Excellent question. So let's talk about the first one. Sure. Are you wearing a wetsuit? So why in the world does it matter if I'm wearing a wetsuit or not?
Well, if you think about it, what makes life jackets float?
Foam.
There's foam inside them.
Yeah.
What are wetsuits made out of?
Foam.
No way. So yes, wetsuits are actually made out of neoprene foam. Neoprene itself is just a hard rubber, but they mix air into it to make it a foam, and hence you end up with a wetsuit. And that's what actually gives it its thermal properties, right, is that insulating air inside of the foam.
And even more so with open cell wetsuits, right?
Oh, yeah.
Open cell wetsuits are actually more buoyant than your typical scuba or surf suits, which is good for us. We want to be buoyant. We want to be floating on the surface, but you also want to be able to counteract that buoyancy in the start of your dive.
Exactly. So that air that's trapped inside of that suit is going to float you, and you have to counterbalance it.
Exactly.
Essentially. So what you do is, there's no real, like with scuba, they have like some formula that calculates how much you need based on, you know, how scuba-esque you are. I don't know how that works. But at the end of the day, everyone is different.
Absolutely.
It's going to be next to impossible for me, even with the information that I need as far as how thick of a wetsuit are you wearing, how deep are you diving, it's going to be next to impossible for me to tell you exactly how much weight you need. Because
get pretty close.
You can get close, but everyone's a little bit different.
That's true.
Different body fat ratios, is that the right word?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
just
bone
different
density
body types as well, right? So like different races, different ethnicities have legitimately different bone densities. So I had multiple guys in my class who would weigh the same amount of, like, they would weigh the same and they would be the same height, same wetsuit, totally different weight, right? Because one's one race and one's another race.
Yeah.
And so just their bone density, their bone structure is literally different.
Yeah. So it's hard to say right off the bat.
It is hard to say.
My general rule of thumb,
Yeah, go ahead.
is the deeper you're diving, the less weight you're going to want to wear.
I agree.
Obviously, the thicker the wetsuit you're wearing, the more weight you're going to need.
Also agree.
And like one thing that they teach in the level 1 class is that you want to be neutral at 33 feet, negative underneath that, and positive above that. However, that can be pretty hard to achieve if you're diving less than 33 feet. Right. So you want to be negatively buoyant on the bottom, so you're not fighting to stay on the bottom.
Yeah. So one of the other questions you mentioned that people ask all the time, or that we fire back, I should say, is how deep are you diving? So as you mentioned to our level 1 class, we set your buoyancy to be neutral. That means that you don't float, you don't sink, you sit perfectly still at 33 feet. Now, that's great and all if you're diving 33 feet and deeper. Well, what if you're diving shallower than 33 feet? And so what I like to use, the rule that I use is you find whatever depth you're diving and take away 6 feet, right? You should be neutrally buoyant at 6 feet off the bottom. What this allows you to do is that when you go beyond that 6 feet, you then become negatively buoyant. So you can sit on the bottom in 20 feet of water, but then as soon as you come up to 14 or 13, you start to float again. Now, what will happen is if you're diving in 20 feet of water with a 3 millimeter wetsuit, you're going to be wearing quite a bit of weight, right? So making sure that you understand the difference of the depths that you're diving, because you should not use that same weight for a 50-foot dive, right? You're going to have a hard time coming off the bottom with the same amount of weight that you would dive at 20 feet.
Yeah. And it's something I see a lot too, on social media, which is where spearfishing and freediving, all the rants come out.
That's true. That's true. All the soapboxes.
Yeah, I'll see pictures of people wearing what looks like a ton of weight, whether they're wearing a full weight belt of like 2-pound weights. Sometimes they're wearing, let's call it 12 pounds, which sounds like a ton of weight, and it is.
It is a lot of weight, yeah.
But you don't know what their situation is that they're diving.
Right.
Now, yes, if they're diving 100
feet in the skin, yeah, exactly. That's
aren't wearing
good.
a wetsuit, that's way too much weight.
Yes.
You're going to sink from the surface no matter what.
Right.
But they could be wearing a 5 mil wetsuit and diving 5 feet.
Right.
And
need that much weight to maybe do photography or hunt lobsters or get a fish out of a hole. Like, you're exactly right. It's a great point.
I see people getting roasted for wearing too much weight, with people having no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, that's very fair. So, as far as the depth goes, we kind of covered that pretty good detail, I think. If you guys do have any questions, definitely make sure that you leave a comment below and asking maybe what you think you need. But as far as like having a specific chart of height and weight wetsuit, it's really just a matter of trying to figure it out and kind of gauging all of those things as to asking yourself those questions. How deep am I diving? And what kind of thickness of wetsuit am I wearing?
Yeah.
To give you guys a good example, I'm 6'3", about 215. With a 3 millimeter wetsuit, I wear 4 pounds. Right?
And to show the difference, I'm 5'10", 170, 175. Depends on
how much pizza you had last night.
Yeah, exactly. And with the same 3 millimeter suit, I'm probably wearing 5-6 pounds. Right. So I need a little more, juice in the middle.
So yeah, and I like to be a little light, and Erik might like to be a little heavy. Like when I stop at 33 feet, I float just ever so slightly, but when I go to 36 feet, I don't move, right? So it's really just kind of dialing that in, and you're only going to figure that out by getting out in the water and going diving.
Yeah,
right?
You have to test it. There's no other way to really, truly know.
So yeah, that's that. Obviously, you can see we have a totally crazy array of different colors that you can pick and choose from. We have 1 pound coated 2-pound coated. Then we also have 1 and 2 pounds uncoated.
And 3-pound coated.
And 3-pound coated. So tons of different things to choose from in on the website as well as in store. And then there's a crazy amount of colors and belts. Erik's got like a rainbow belt where he's got like all the different colors of...
One of each color weight and a hot pink belt.
Nice. No one's stealing that thing, that's
Keep
for
it
sure.
classy. One little final tidbit too is my personal way of running weights is I generally stick with 1-pound weights. And I advise that for anything in that, let's say up to about 6 pounds. Once you start getting past the 6-pound range, it might be beneficial to throw on some 2-pound weights. I generally don't ever wear 3-pound weights because I don't ever have a need for them. But if you have a whole belt full of 1-pound weights, it can be a little bit weird to work with. Although that seems to be what I do most of the time anyway. But throw a couple 2-pounders on there if you need more. Otherwise, just stick with 1-pounders and spread them out. You know, having 4 1-pound weights is pretty
Super
ideal.
easy, yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, so definitely if you guys found this content valuable, we'd love for you guys to share this video with your friends, and also please subscribe so you can know when we have a next video coming out.
You can see my beautiful face.
All the more often. You got any questions for our viewers out there today?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you.
I probably do.
Okay.
I would like to know, leave it down in the comments so I can see it, what the biggest fish you've ever shot was. And how many pounds of weight you were wearing when you did it.
Okay. Biggest fish you've shot with the amount of weight.
Was your biggest
Or
fish...
did you kill a fish with the weight belt?
That could happen, yeah, if you drop it. Have you ever shot a fish that weighs more than your weight belt?
I would hope so.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile question.
All right, fair enough. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.
Thank you so much for watching our video, guys. If you guys did find good value in this content, please make sure you subscribe and check out our other videos, especially this one right here.